So at Catalia Health, what we're delivering to patients is a care management program. So we don't actually sell a piece of hardware or software, we're selling a service where we help engage patients. Now today, the way that tends to be delivered to patients every day is either sending out a person to the patient's home or more commonly making phone calls. Now our interface is definitely unique. We give patients a cute little robot that sits on their kitchen counter or bedside table or coffee table. And there are particular reasons we use that interface. Now, if we look at technology in healthcare over the last few years or the last decade, what we've seen is a lot of apps that are delivered to patients, or maybe glowing or beeping devices in the home to try to offer reminders. Now, one of the things that we really start with at Catalia Health is understanding what are the challenges that patients actually have with sticking with therapy. And it doesn't tend to be around forgetting and remembering to do something. That's not the challenge. There are a lot of other issues that patients are dealing with every day around symptoms or side effect management or psychosocial issues that come with chronic disease. And the entire reason that we use the robot as an interface has a little bit to do with technology, but a lot to do with psychology. In particular, the psychology of what happens when we as people interact with one another. Now, we know that talking with someone face-to-face is a bit different than talking with them via text or email or even a great video conference system. And when we're face-to-face with someone, we're more engaged in the conversation. It turns out that we actually find that person that we're talking with to be more credible, more informative, and more trustworthy. Research that I started doing here at MIT 16 years ago showed that those differences carry over into the world of technology. In other words, when we put that robot in front of a patient that can literally look them in the eyes while it's talking to them, we get those effects, the psychological effects of face-to-face interaction. And so that's why we use that as the interface with our patients. Now, the way that Meibu actually works in terms of the day-to-day interaction is kind of like technology that many people are familiar with today, like the Amazon Echo or Siri on the iPhone, which is to say it's simply a conversation back and forth. The robot may start off with something like, oh, hey, how are you feeling this afternoon? Just wanted to check in with you. And depending on that person's answer, could go off in a number of different directions. So there's a lot of technology that's in the background that makes this work. What's actually happening is we're using algorithms to generate a conversation on the fly that's really tailored to that patient at that point in time. So we're building up these models in the background, medically, psychologically, biographically about that patient, and we're using our AI algorithms to create a conversation for that patient right then, and to get data that we're reporting back to the doctor or the care manager nurse or the pharmacist. So while there's a lot of complexity going on in the background, the interface to the patient is as simple as a conversation. One of the things that I've focused on for the last 20 years is how do we build technology for an older population. Now, today it's a bit different than 20 years ago in that people are becoming more and more tech savvy, but some of our patients have never owned a computer and never owned a cell phone. And so when we're trying to use technology that's commonly built today, there are some particular challenges. This is one of the reasons that we focused on a conversational interface that can understand a lot socially about what's going on with that person. So if we think about the world of interactive or social robots, then using some of the cues that we commonly use in conversation are very powerful in making this easy to use. For example, our robot actually looks at the patient and makes eye contact. So it's a fairly subtle cue, but one that's actually very important. The conversation itself is literally just that, a conversation back and forth. We're not asking the patient to look up any menus or type anything on a screen. The robot's talking to them, they're able to talk back to it. So over many years of putting this kind of technology in front of patients, we've continuously evolved and refined how it works, trying to make it as simple as possible and as easy to use and easy to understand for anyone as we can.